Hello everyone, I'm Srishal and welcome to the conversation. Our guest for today is an inspiration for all of us. Despite his illness, he trains as hard as any other athlete and has achieved what the world felt was impossible. Till date, he has participated in 7 half marathons and several other small marathons and races. In the year 2019, he participated in the Devil Circuit, which is Asia's toughest obstacle course. His story is that of grit, perseverance, and resilience. I'm talking about none other than Nihad Panju. Hi Nihad,
Hi, thank you for the
how are
kind
you?
introduction.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
How are you keeping yourself fit during the lockdown?
Good, good.
Okay.
Managing to keep myself. Yeah.
Were you training for something specific before the lockdown?
No, I just run the marathon in January, right? The dream run.
Okay.
So I took it easy as because I ran the Devil Circuit in December. So yeah.
Okay. So Nihad, take us back to your childhood. How was it?
To be honest, my childhood was a bit of a blur because I had an illness when I was very little. So I mean I don't remember much of it. I was diagnosed with tubercular meningitis when I was 5 months old, and then post that it was just treatment.
Okay. So for how much period was your treatment going on?
I mean the treatment never stopped. The treatment never really stopped until I was 14 years. And for the first 10 years, it was everything. It was Ayurvedic massages, occupational therapy, you name it. It was everything with very little to no improvement. So it was a little disheartening, demotivating. But I had, I mean, that was childhood for me.
Okay. So how was the treatment? How was the program for you? So what kind of a treatment you were undergoing for this?
So again, for the first 10 years, it was everything. It was all occupational therapy. My parents tried everything they found for me. It was physiotherapy, Ayurvedic massages, you name it. It was everything.
Okay.
It was everything.
And when did you find out the program which you always say in the US?
So when I was, in fact, on my 10th birthday, my parents attended a course at the Institute for the Achievement of Human Potential, based in Philadelphia. Till date, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. I mean, training for a marathon is a walk in the park compared to it.
Okay.
It was 12 to 14-hour work days with no holidays, and it covered everything. It was physical, physiological, intellectual, everything. So I had to be pulled out of school to do it. So, but I mean, that was when the actual improvement started setting in. I mean, after working for 10 years with nothing to show for it, in the first 2 weeks of a brutal program, it was rewarding.
So how was the program, Nihad? How was your schedule during that?
I mean, I had to be pulled out of school, like I mentioned. So it was hard. I mean, different things which I did over the 4 years was crawling 2 miles a day, creeping a mile and a half, brachiation, hanging, something known as masking, where I had to wear a modified plastic bag over my nose and mouth for 30 to 60 seconds, 40 to 80 times a day to increase oxygenation to the brain. I had a whole nutritional program. I had a gymnastics program, and funnily enough, I even had a running program, which didn't mean anything to me back then.
Okay. So Nihad, as you said, it was a 12 to 14 hours program. So how did you persevere? You were just 10 then, and what made you persevere in the first place?
So to give you an idea, my left hand was fisted with my thumb in and stuck to my chest. And when my mom used to clean it as when I was a baby, she actually had to use a cotton bud to clean the inside of it. And 2 weeks into the program, my hand had opened slightly for a brief few seconds, but it had opened, which was, imagine for me, from being fisted for 10 years to opening for a few seconds was a sea of change.
Okay. So that small improvement, that marginal gain made you persevere.
Yeah.
And how long was this program for?
So it's different with different people, because at some point in a program, in some point in the program that they give you, you plateau. So, and then the child needs to have a life plan. So in my case, it was 4 years.
Okay. So you managed it staying here, or you had to go to US?
So the first time you go there, it was only my parents.
Okay.
They learn about the program, what the program entails, what it demands, etc. Then they come back, the parents come back and do with their child. And then they go back for a week every 6 months to get reevaluated and get a new program. And this is also after they track your progress, which my parents send reports every week and videos to them every week. So
yeah, tell us, growing up, did you ever feel that your illness was a hindrance in your daily routine?
it was. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I never felt that way. Because I was always treated normally, like any other kid. I was never said, okay, fine, he has a problem. Let's do it differently for him. Even though I was lagging behind, even though I was falling multiple times a day because my balance was so bad and I couldn't converge, it was I never stuck out like a sore thumb. And in fact, even now, some of my closest friends are my school friends.
Okay, wonderful. But you mentioned, Nihad, you were 10 when you started the program, and your program was for 4 years.
Right.
By the time you completed the program, you must have been 14. Yeah, 14. So how
Right.
was this time for you personally? You said that it was 14 hours, so you didn't had a social life then, or probably any life outside the program.
I can't take credit for that completely, because especially my mom, dad, and my sister, their lives, and especially actually my mom and dad, their lives came to a complete standstill for those 4 years. And they worked with me day in and day out. Their world revolved around me. So, and for me, and I guess I can say this, I am also a sociable person, so it did get lonely at times. Seeing other kids go out, knowing other kids were going to school, going out, etc., and I had to do this program at home.
How are you managing your school then?
So for those 4 years, because it was such an intensive program, and it took up so much time. My mom used to teach me at home. So the institute gives you an intellectual program that you do with your child.
Okay. So Nihad, how was life after the program?
Oh, it was amazing. It felt like I was housebound for 4 years. I felt like a dog off a leash.
Okay. So then life got back to normal. You completed your studies?
Yeah. So like I said, when I graduated from the program, I was physically fit, physiologically at level with my peers. I could lead an age appropriate life. So yes, I went back to school, finished my last few years of school, and then finished my IGCSE, and then moved to Singapore to study interactive multimedia design.
And how was life in Singapore then?
Different.
Okay. Different, at least from these grueling 12 hours, 14 hours session.
Yeah.
Finally getting back to normal.
I mean, it was a completely different set of challenges that I had then. So, and which seemed very easy compared to the others, compared to the earlier ones.
Okay. So what influenced you to take up running then?
So, I mean, the best way to describe that to you would be after having a physical program which was that intensive, and then which was for 4 years, and then doing nothing after that. I guess at the subconscious level, I found the need to stay physically fit. So I joined the gym. At the time, my trainer, was training a group of people for the Standard Chartered Bombay Marathon. The marathon was in 2012, and he was training them in 2011.
Okay.
And Rustam also happens to be one of my closest friends today. So we were doing boot camp one day at the Cricket Club of India in Bombay, and he would always say, it was never directed at me, but he would always say, and here I quote him, saying, "Run the 21, it will change your life." And it was never really directed at me. So I went up to him and I said, "Okay, I want to run the 21." And at that point, I didn't even ask him or request him saying, "Can you train me?" or however. I just said, "I want to run the 21." So he said, "Okay, fine." He didn't want to dissuade me. So he said, "Okay, fine. Run 3 rounds of the CCI, which is just 1.2 kilometers."
Okay.
And 20 meters into it, I was like, what have I got myself into? And I guess, my friends, my gym, my training friends were practically like family at that point. So I indirectly pushed myself. I pushed myself to do those 3 rounds. And then gradually, with practice, I pushed it up to 14 rounds, 12 to 14 rounds over there. And then one afternoon, my friend was on the phone with me, and she said, "Okay, come to Nariman Point at whatever 5, 6, whatever in the morning, because we're running." So I just landed up there. I didn't tell him anything. I just landed up, and as you can imagine, he was pretty shocked to see me there.
Okay.
So he actually told me. So that morning they were running 7 kilometers. So starting at NCPA, running up Balkeshwar, and finishing at Hanging Garden, which was also an incline, and I didn't know the eye of incline at that point, because I was only running on flat land. So anyway, he said, run whatever, a kilometer or 2 out, and back, and then go home. I didn't say anything. I actually managed to finish the 7 kilometers that day. And I think that was actually the turning point for him as well, when he realized that, maybe I'm serious about it, and maybe I have it in me to do it. And I think that was when he actually took me seriously, or started taking me seriously.
And from there on, how was your training schedule?
I think, to be very honest, I think it was the same as earlier. I used to go into the gym. I used to do my boot camps. It was just the same. I just had to slip in one long distance run a week.
Okay.
And one long distance would be anywhere. Depending on how much time you have to the marathon, it was between. Again, like I said, right? You taper up, plateau, and taper down, and then recover before the race. So it could be the really long ones would be anywhere between 10 and 21 kilometers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So by the time you were preparing for the 10 or the 21-kilometer run?
Sorry?
By the time you completed your 7 kilometers with your friends, so you were preparing for the 10K or the 21K?
21. My first marathon was 21.
Okay. Nihad, tell us your decision to run marathons. How was it taken by the people around you?
It was like, my trainer, like I said, right? My trainer didn't want to dissuade me, so I said, okay, fine, do it. And then everything changed with him, at least post that 7 kilometers. And then I guess I drowned out all the naysayers and the individuals who put externally imposed limitations on me, saying you can't do it, or it won't be possible, or you shouldn't do it. I didn't really respond to them. In fact, it was people like them that pushed me to go further and actually do it.
But by the negativity around you, didn't you ever doubt your decision that these people are saying that you won't be able to do what you are thinking of? So, did you ever doubt your decision?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Because let's focus on the time I was running on the road. Like I was training on the road. It was still a push for me till I got to kilometer 10. After I got to kilometer 10, I realized how much I love it. It just had happened automatically. And I was managing to bump it up by 2 kilometers each week.
Wonderful.
So, and that was actually the point, I think, when the bug bit me. Like the long distance running bug bit me, and I was just absolutely loving it.
So Nihad, I'll take you back to 2012 when you ran your first marathon. Tell us about that experience.
Well, it was a completely sleepless night, and I remember my trainer saying, "Okay, fine, it's okay if you don't sleep. You will be able to finish it." And surprisingly, he was completely right, because I did finish it, and I actually made the qualifying time for the following year.
Okay.
So, and crossing that line was something else. I mean, it took me at least a day or two to realize, and then for it to sink in that I had finished the race or finished the run.
Nihad, I'll just ask you one thing. Was it just that 1 year of hard work for this marathon, or was it that 15 years or 14 years before that, the grueling program and the treatment before that?
I think the program indirectly set me up for this, if I may say it that way, because if you compare the two, if you compare training for a marathon and you compare the program, it's so easy running a marathon, or it's so easy training for a marathon.
Okay.
So I guess the program did set me up, or leave me in good stead for this.
So after completing the marathon, did you ever feel that I proved the people wrong? Those who were doubting you?
I guess it started the first year. The first year kind of started because I wanted to prove to myself mainly that I could do it, despite what everyone says. And then it was understood by everyone that he can do it.
So then, how it went forward from there? So, which was your next event, and were you preparing for any other events after this?
So the 2012 run in January was my first one, and then my trainer said, what, if it goes well, we are running a marathon in Oroville, which is a trail marathon, and come with us there. But I don't want you to run the 21 there. I want you to run the 10 there.
Okay.
So it was my first trail marathon then. And then again, it took off. Like I was running all the time.
Okay. So did you change your training schedule? So now you were professionally running and regularly running, I would say. So was there any change in your training schedule?
With me, I guess everything is kind of a little different because you have your good days, you have your bad days. So in my case, it might take slightly longer for me to recover from certain injuries than it would take someone else. So, but no, I train as intensely as I can, or I push myself as much as I can.
Okay. So in 2019, you participated in Asia's toughest obstacle course, the Devil Circuit.
Right.
So walk us through that. What made you take that decision?
So a gentleman kind of reached out to me one day on Facebook saying, there's this event called the Devil Circuit. We'd love you to take part because, it's what a lot of people don't realize is it's an event or a marathon or a race or whatever. It's not only physical, it's mental as well. And the way you train or whatever you've been through, you've covered mental and physical. And we love you to kind of be an ambassador or whatever, doing it. And I remember as a kid watching all these reality shows like Fear Factor and others. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, I wish I could do this one day. I mean, it was almost like some dreams have to die. So I never really pushed for it. And then doing the Devil Circuit was incredible. And, coming back to what I was saying earlier of the mental part, how it plays a mental game. So one of the obstacles you have in the Devil Circuit is called brain freeze, where you come down a slide into 17 tons of ice.
Okay.
It's not going to hurt you. I mean, the ice is not going to hurt you, but just the mental game that's playing in your mind that, it's so cold down there and you think twice of doing it or not is what they were referring to, or what they are referring to.
Okay. So can you tell us more about the Devil Circuit in particular? What exactly it is?
So the Devil Circuit, like it is right now, or as I did it in December, it is a 5K. It's a 5K route that you cover on foot, which you can either run or walk. I mean, again, if you're someone like me and you want to clock in as well, you would run, but you can walk as well. So it's a 5K. It's a 5K course, and there are 15 obstacles along the way. So you climb up a rope, or what you would call like a rope pyramid. I was scrolling underwater with the water up to here, and there was barbed wire over my head here. So again, there are different obstacles like that you cover along the way, and then at least mine finished with the brain freeze obstacle where you come down the slide.
Nihad, you were telling me the other day when we were speaking that the Devil Circuit the obstacles there were nothing new for you. So could you tell us about it? What were you referring to?
So again, coming back to the program, it was running, which I covered in the program. It was creeping like a snake moves on your tummy. I was crawling there with a rope mesh over me. I was crawling, like I mentioned, in water this time. So it was mainly that, and the mental game you were covering with the program anyway.
Okay. Yeah, how has failures and setbacks shaped you as a person?
It's simple. It's pushed me to work harder. It's, I guess, at some level also, it's taught me to have no expectations, because you have your bad days as well. But like one day you would do a bad run, or you would have a bad run, and you're supposed to increase the distance by the next week, and you will be like, okay, fine, I'm never going to do this. I'm never going to reach that goal next week. It'll take me 2 weeks. And having those no expectations will actually get you to reach that distance.
Okay. But Nihad, tell me, you said that it taught you to have no expectations, but when you were starting to run any marathon, I would say any training or marathon, you really don't have any goals for you that I'll perform this in this marathon, or any set goal.
I mean, if you're going back to my training for my first marathon, like I said, it was just managing to finish, and we're finishing it in one piece.
Okay.
So yeah.
So the same story goes on for all the marathons. You still don't keep any goals for you?
I mean, I try to improve my timing for sure. And I mean, yeah, there've been incentives along the way. I've had different things I did that I've done, like that have happened thanks to my running itself. Like that have happened thanks to my running. Like I was one of 6 athletes that were picked by Franklin Templeton, because they matched 6 stories to 6 things that they do. So it's called the Marathon of Life campaign. So I was actually picked over there. I was one of 4 athletes picked for Dwayne Johnson's Titan Games commercial. So that there's a media company called Homegrown that did a film on me, like a short clip on me. So I mean, it's been really good. I was inducted to the Nike Running Club along the way. So it's been fun. It's been an experience. I've met some incredibly amazing people. I've really met some incredibly amazing people along the way.
Looking back, you feel you could have done anything differently, or maybe the results today would have been different? In any such things which you have in mind?
I think the only thing I can say is I wish I started earlier. But that was out of my hands, right? I was on the program, and then before that, I didn't know anything. So I didn't know much. So if there was anything I wish I had started earlier.
Wonderful. Nihad, tell us about your parents. So
they've been the backbone through everything.
Your sacrifice is one thing, and their sacrifice is on another level. Tell us about them.
I mean, they've been my backbone through everything. I mean, not just my parents. I mean, my parents, of course, mainly my parents. So it's everyone. My family, my friends. Friends who have become practically family. So, or they've become practically like family. They've just pushed me to become the person I am today. So they've all played various roles. I guess my parents played the biggest role. I wouldn't be who I am or where I am if it wasn't for them.
Yeah, along the way, you have persevered a lot. Okay, you have shown courage at every point in your life. How would you describe that, and how would you advise players to indulge such qualities in them?
I don't know. It depends. It would depend on it would depend on the player. It would depend on the sport. So I don't know. I really don't know how to answer that.
But I ask you because I am a badminton coach. I have many players coming to me saying that, sir, this is not working for me, or picking the heavy bag is a sacrifice for them. So I asked you in a way that you have done a lot of sacrifices in your life, which actually qualifies as a sacrifice. So how would you advise such players to persevere despite any setback or any failure? So I'm asking you about that. So how you did it over the course of your journey.
Um, I'm really not sure how to answer, but all I can say is there was, if you're coming back to the program, there was no room for failure. I had to reach those goals, and I would work towards reaching those goals. And I knew nothing else. So it was, I would say, at some level, it had to be. It was indirectly ingrained in me to have to reach those goals, and failure wasn't. I mean, failure wasn't on the cards.
Nihad, what lessons have you learned from your decade-long career in sport?
I guess to persevere even more. Be, I guess, aim for the stars. Like even if you land on the moon, aim for the stars. Uh, and never take my eye off the ball. If I have a goal which is to reach somewhere, do whatever you can to get there.
Do you feel more kids should come into sport?
For sure, for sure, for sure. The kids also. I think kids get influenced by other kids as well. I mean, sorry, let me rephrase that. Certain kids can get influenced by, like, let's say their best friend. When you grew up, you have like a best friend, so you get influenced by your best friend. So I guess, yeah, kids should do sports. It might take a while for it to set in, and parents should actually push their kid to do sport. But again, don't push them as much, or rather, don't push them too much, so they actually resent it, and then just they don't do it because, okay, fine, my mom or my dad is forcing me to do it. Push your kid just enough for it to pay back later.
Yeah, then success and failure, what has been of more importance to you throughout your sporting career?
Both, both, both. I guess because the failures, I guess the failures kept me humble, or have kept me humble, and the success has actually made me want to push harder and reach further. So, as simple as that.
Yeah, any advice for players, those who are willing to take up any sport? And secondly, for players who have chosen sport but are struggling at a certain level?
I think players who want to take up sport on a serious level, take it up. Figure out how badly you want it. And sorry, can you repeat the second part of the question?
I'm saying the second part is players who have already taken up but are struggling at a certain level, say a district level or a state
So
level.
exactly. So, what would be the next goal? I mean, how would if they're struggling, incentivize it? How can you incentivize it? What can you do to keep yourself self-motivated? Like for me personally, I love running alone. So at some point, if I feel, okay, fine, running with someone is an incentive, or maybe running together would motivate me. So I'm actually motivating it, and automatically I would get better, or someone will get better.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. Nihad, we'll open up the chat box for questions. If you
Sure.
allow us, I'll take questions. And at
Sure.
the end, I'll ask you one question from my side.
Sure.
Yeah. So, Nihad, we already have a question. Which was your most memorable run and why?
I have to say two. I think my first memorable run was my training run, like the 7 kilometer training run, which I spoke about earlier, because that was the turning point for my trainer, who I actually plays the most important role in my running life. So I think that's my most memorable run, and I think that the Devil Circuit, because like I said, I remember watching all those reality shows as a kid, and then for that to come to life was almost surreal.
We have another question from Siddharth Shah. Uh, he asks, how do brands and you work together?
I guess brands, if it's how brands and me work together, it would be what is common between the two. So for me, it would be Nike. I mean, it would be a no-brainer that Nike would be hands down. Because if you go back to, let's say, their tagline, which is just do it, it's something I've just had to do all my life. I've had no choice but to do it. So I guess that brand connect from my end would be there. On the other hand, if it's again brands and me working together, which it also could mean, it would go back to something like Franklin Templeton, where the common thing was resilience in my case.
Okay.
So they wanted to portray that, and that's something I have. So, I mean, that's something that people say I have. So, again, that's how I would work with brands.
Okay.
How I would pitch to brands or approach brands.
Okay. Yeah, so in the meantime, I'll see the questions. By the time, I'll ask you one question from my side, Nihad.
Sure.
Listening to you, I'm just thinking that, at every point, there were not many people around you who would, push you. If you had any setback or any failure, it would be you who would stand up and go forward. So how was it for you? Was it difficult to not have people around you pushing you that much?
It wasn't, because I used the pushing or them not pushing me as a motivation thing. You know what? He probably can't do it, and I want to prove myself. So I used it. I actually used it as a motivation factor more than getting dissuaded by it.
Nihad, Mona is asking, who is your biggest inspiration?
I've got a bunch of them. I mean, different people for different things. So I can't just name one.
But still, if you name 2 or 3, it's okay. You can go on.
I think my biggest okay. So it'll be a combination of motivation and inspiration. So of course one would be a no-brainer. My trainer Rustam, who actually seeded the idea, or rather indirectly seeded the idea of long distance running. Another gentleman called Dilip Jairam, who's literally put me on the map. Like, he's literally taught me to keep my eye on the ball throughout. So him. So yeah, I think those two mainly.
Okay, wonderful.
Mainly.
Varad Govende is asking, who is the person you look up to in the sporting world and why?
I think so in the sporting world, I think Dean Karnazes, he's a ultramarathon runner. He actually wrote this book called, which is called Ultra Marathon Man: Confessions of an All-Night Runner. It was one my trainer gave me after my first marathon, and I go, and till date I go by a lot of what he says. So I think him.
Okay. Yeah, there's a wonderful question coming from Praveen. He says, "What would your autobiography be called?"
Oh God, no clue.
You
No
can
clue.
think of one. Maybe you can answer it towards the end. In the meantime, you can think of a name. But even I would love to hear that name.
Okay, so I'll actually make this funny. So I was actually doing an interview for I think Redev Sports a few years ago, and my trainer, she wanted to meet my trainer, so I brought him in, and he says, uh, I don't know how God, him, and I work together. So I think something along those lines would be what I would call it.
Okay.
God, you and I don't know. I don't know. So
So there's another question here. He's Sidraj, again coming from Sidraj. He says, "What are your career goals post COVID?"
I think my first goal would be to let my parents let me out of the house and start running on the road again.
But on a serious note, what are you looking at?
Getting bands on board, doing as many speaking engagements as I can. Trying to become as much. I would love to be more of an athlete. Like, I would love to do this. I would love to do this full time. But again, I need to find a way to make it sustainable. So again, trying to make it sustainable and do this. So that's my goal. And of course, run as many marathons and again, obstacle courses like the Devil Circuit in the future.
Okay. There's another question, a very nice one. What are your preparations? What are the preparations you make before the race?
Do you mean before, like literally the night before or the day before or over?
I think she must be asking before the race, means like the pre-match preparations.
Okay. So I think for me at least, I know it's very little, but I have I have a high carb meal the night before. And I don't like eating before a race. So I have one banana the morning off, and that's it. That's my prep. And of course, sleep early because you have to get to the race, you have to get to the starting line, at least for a marathon at like 4 or 5 in the morning. So that's
Okay, so there's one question coming from Prakash. He says, if not running, what sport would you have picked?
I really don't know. I really don't know because running again, like I said, running fell into my lap indirectly, and it just became into a passion, and it became into what it is right now. So I think I really don't know. I couldn't think of any other sport.
Yeah, but really means reading this question, I would like to ask, have you ever thought your life apart from running? It's been
Ah,
associated with you since a long time, man.
I think always wanted to be uh, I think a race car driver, but I can't drive. So yeah.
Okay. So, Nihad, there's another question coming up. What are your other hobbies?
My other hobbies would be just like a normal kid, going out. I like to go out. I like to meet people, hang out. Uh, I've come up with my most recent hobby, which is working out at home due to lockdown and COVID. which I never thought I'd be able to do before this. So I guess you can say that.
So there's a message for you, and this is the last question we'll take. This is not really a question, but a message. Is I think Khushi. Yeah. So all through the program and all through the life, Nihad has faced everything with a smile and a cheerful disposition. He has a wonderful strength of character and a sunny out. It's a wonderful message for you.
Thank you.
So Nihad, we'll not take any more. We won't take any more questions. Just a last question from my side. What are your plans for the next couple of years, or 4 years, 5 years?
Like I answered earlier, I want to become more of an athlete. I want to figure out how to make that happen. Figure out how to make it more sustainable, get more structure in. So yeah, I think that.
Yeah, any final message for players, kids watching this before we sign off?
I hope I didn't bore you.
No.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I mean, I would say to players and kids mainly, you really love what you're doing, and if you don't figure out what you do love, and it may not be sport, it may be even writing, photography, whatever, just go do it. There will be setbacks, there will be failures, but just forget what everyone says. You can do what you want to do. So I guess that would be my message.
Thank you so much, Nihad. It was wonderful having you here. It was wonderful listening. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone listening to this. Thank you so much. We'll be back next Sunday with another guest. Thank you, Nihad.
Thank you.